Well, in a way you could say an economy that runs without creating all sorts of pollution and without creating a lot of waste either here or somewhere else in the world, so that all materials that we use it in such a way that they keep on circulating instead of being wasted on the earth. So very simply said, that is the case. And for companies, that means that they kind of have to close the loop themselves or work with other organizations or other businesses to close the loop, to make sure that when we take materials, it's not being wasted, but it's being used again and again, or it can be returned to the earth in a way that's not damaging to our environment. So it also is a lot about organizing, it's a lot about working together, organizations collaborating, and that's the key that we think of going to a new circular economy. People began to use the term circular economy. I think that was about 2010. That's due to the Ellen Macarthur Foundation, but it goes back even further. There are other people who thought about the topic before, such as the cradle-to-cradle approach that exists much longer. I think that goes back to the 1990s. But then it was only a selective group. I think the strength of the circular economy is that a bigger group of people and organizations and governments is now thinking about it. I think it's important because we need innovation. We need to change the way we currently do things. And the current businesses tend to go as they always did. And those new organizations, those social enterprises, they have these social goals in mind but are willing to innovate, at least that's what we see, and do it completely differently. And I think that's where they can actually change the way things are. So they can actually show to other organizations, you're now doing it this way, but look, this is also working. A very well-known example is maybe the Fairphone, which is a phone company from the Netherlands who doesn't design a phone like all the others do, but they look at where their materials are sourced, so what materials go in and whether that's not damaging or causing human rights issues. So that's on the one hand. And on the other hand, they made this very modular phone, so when your screen breaks or another component, you can actually take it out and replace it. And they are the only company in the world doing that. And I think that's been quite inspirational, and at least it has made people think about the topic, whether they buy such a phone or not. Well, I think it's most important that as a company you know that we only have this one Earth and we have to have this more regenerative economy. So not taking it, but keeping it and making sure you make the best out of the materials you've got. So it goes to optimal use, making optimal use of the things we have, of not taking new materials when there are other alternatives, let's say recycled material and so on and so forth, and making sure that when you have these materials, that at least as a company you try to keep the ownership of these materials. So not just selling it and leaving it, but think about what happened next and what you can do specifically as a company, so with your business model, to find solutions there. There is no science there, but my interpretation, I see two groups of people. We have a group of young people who are now starting their own enterprise, and then there's this big gap, which would be my generation. And then there is this group of people who are about my father's age, who are about to retire and say, well, it's not enough. We should actually do more. We should change things. And I already have this good company running and I'm going to pass it over. And with the time and money I have available, I'm going to work with young people, or I'm going to start a new business concept that is more circular. So it's a bit the young people and it's a bit the more older generation, and it seems to be there's this big gap in the middle, which is my own generation. And I think this is maybe where more can be done.